Hey, welcome to Vital Logic. Today, we're digging into a powerful, often overlooked connection. How a few simple shortages in your body's nutrient supply could be the real reason behind that mental fatigue and low mood you just can't seem to shake.
You know, we're all quick to blame burnout or a stressful job for feeling drained and mentally exhausted. But what if it's more than that? What if that persistent feeling of being just off is actually your body trying to send you a very specific signal? Okay, let's dive right into this with a feeling that I'm sure many of us know all too well: brain fog. It's that frustrating state where your thoughts just feel kind of slow and hazy, and getting focused feels almost impossible. Now, to be clear, brain fog isn't a term your doctor is going to write down on a chart. It's not an official diagnosis, but that doesn't mean it isn't real. Oh, its effects are very real. Clinically, it's often called cognitive dysfunction, and it's a collection of challenges that can seriously mess with your daily life. So what does that actually feel like? Well, it might show up as having a really hard time paying attention in a meeting, or, constantly forgetting where you put your keys. Maybe making decisions feels overwhelming. You might even notice your reaction times are a little slower, or that just finding the right word in a conversation is a real struggle. If any of that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone.
So, to really understand what might be going on, I want you to think of your brain as this incredibly sophisticated chemical factory. It's running 24/7, producing all the complex chemicals you need to feel focused, motivated, and emotionally in balance.
And just like any factory, it completely depends on having the right raw materials. Your mood, your clarity, it's all the end product of these amazingly complex biochemical cycles. And here's the thing. When just one little piece goes missing, the whole system can start to sputter and slow down.
And check this out. This gives us a peek inside that factory. We're actually looking at the biological machinery, things like the folate and methylation cycles. These are the literal assembly lines that create our mood-regulating neurotransmitters. The famous ones like serotonin and dopamine. I know, it looks super complicated, because it is. But this is exactly where our investigation gets really interesting.
Because when this incredible factory starts to underperform, it's very often because of a shortage of a few key supplies. These are the hidden culprits that can throw your entire mental state out of whack. All right, first up, B vitamins. We're talking specifically about B9, which you probably know as folate, and B12. I want you to think of these guys as the master builders, or maybe the lead engineers in our brain's factory. They are absolutely essential for getting anything built.
This diagram here shows you exactly why they're so critical. If you follow the pathway from that folate cycle on the left, you can see it kicks off a chain reaction that leads directly to making serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline. No B vitamins? That whole production line just grinds to a halt.
So let's be super clear. These vitamins aren't just helpers. They are fundamental to the whole operation. They're critical for making neurotransmitters, for keeping your neurons healthy, and for managing something called homocysteine. When that gets too high, it's been directly linked to more severe symptoms of depression.
Next up, culprit number 2, vitamin D. I like to call this one the mood modulator. See, it doesn't just build stuff. It acts more like a master regulator, fine-tuning the entire system of brain chemistry.
And one of its most important jobs is boosting the expression of this protein called BDNF. The easiest way to think of BDNF is like fertilizer for your brain cells. It helps them survive, grow, and form new connections. And what's really fascinating is that studies often find lower levels of BDNF in people with depression, and vitamin D can help the brain make more of it.
Our third culprit is magnesium, which you can think of as the brain's great calmer. If your nervous system just feels like it's constantly revving in high gear, a lack of magnesium might be a big part of the reason why. To really get its role, you have to know about the two big opposing forces in the brain. On one side, you've got glutamate, that's the accelerator that gets neurons all fired up. And on the other side, you've got GABA, that's the brake that tells them to calm down. A healthy, stable mood really depends on the delicate balance between these two. And this is where magnesium comes in and works its magic. It does 3 incredibly important things. First, it physically blocks the receptors for the accelerator. Second, it's a required ingredient to even make the brake pedal, GABA. And third, it helps regulate your body's main stress response system. It literally helps your brain and body take a breath and chill out.
And finally, there's a key accomplice in all this that is so often overlooked: iron. We usually think about iron for physical energy, right? But its role in our mental energy is just as important.
Iron is an essential cofactor, which is just a sciencey way of saying it's a necessary helper on that assembly line making dopamine and serotonin. Without enough iron, production just slows way down, and that can lead directly to low motivation and a depressed mood. It's also vital for the protective coating around your neurons, and when that's weak, you get that classic, frustrating brain fog.
So as you can probably see by now, that feeling of anxiety or depression or that mental fog, it isn't just all in your head. It can be a direct physical reflection of your body's internal chemistry.
This table really connects all the dots for us. Just look at how a B12 deficiency can show up as depression, anxiety, brain fog, and fatigue. Or how low iron is linked to pretty much every single symptom on this list. See, these aren't isolated problems. They are deeply interconnected.
Okay, so if you're sitting there and some of this is really hitting home, what's the next step? This knowledge isn't meant for self-diagnosis, not at all. It's meant to empower you, to give you a clear, responsible path forward.
So here's the takeaway, the game plan. Step 1 is just to acknowledge that what you're feeling is real and valid. Step 2 is to understand these potential biological connections we've been talking about. And then the most crucial steps, 3 and 4. Talk to a healthcare professional. Start a conversation about the possibility of targeted testing for some of these nutrient levels. This is all about having an informed discussion to get to the real root cause of how you're feeling.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If this is the connection between just a few nutrients and our mood, what other hidden biological factors are quietly shaping our health and how we feel every single day?
If you're curious and you want to explore more of those questions with us, make sure you subscribe to Vital Logic. We love breaking down the real science behind wellness to give you clear, actionable insights. Thanks so much for watching.